Hello, friends. We are back. Jayanth and I, as usual. And Jayanth, the usual question for you: how was your weekend?
Oh, this weekend was rocking. I went for a rock concert at Hard Rock Cafe. It was a Linkin Park tribute band called Anthracite from Bombay. So me and my daughter went. We had a gala of a time.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I
Sunday
know
was
it
the
was. You had splashed it all over Facebook. I,
oh
I was
yes.
forced. Like as a friend, I was forced to like it because I don't like metal.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Rock.
I know when you like some of my such posts, I know as a friend you're forced to like them on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah.
No, it was more because of Siona, not because of you. I said, okay, you're enjoying with your daughter. So I said, yes.
Yeah.
And good, good. But I mean, when I ask you this question, how was your weekend? Typically, you always tell me, you always have a rocking weekend. So it's okay.
This
Yeah,
time it was literally rocking. I mean, after
literally,
a
yes.
long time I'd been to a concert. Yeah. So
Yeah. I mean, well, I won't comment much on rock because it's not my area. Viewers and listeners, we have with us a guest, Srinivas Gattamneni, whom we refer to as Srini. So, Srini, welcome on the show. And before, of course, we get into the meat of the discussions, here's a brief intro. Srini has been at the helm of ADA as its CEO for the last 6 years. Now, he describes ADA as a data and AI company that designs and executes integrated digital analytics and marketing solutions. Of course, ADA has about 1,500 employees, which I mean, comprising data scientists, digital media gurus, e-commerce practitioners, marketers, and business consultants. And it operates across 12 markets in the APAC region. Srinivas is a man of, I mean, he's worn many hats. Started out as a software engineer, was part of the product team at ARM, following which he spent 8 years, as he says, identifying, investing, building, and scaling up over 25 companies in the startup ecosystem, which, it was a priceless experience. I'm quoting him, that prompted him to shift his focus to the transformative ability of technology and creation of ADA. Wow, that was impressive, Srini. Of course, Srini also served as the
Thank
chief portfolio officer at Axiata Digital, where he oversaw all M&A, etc. And I think, Jayant, you and Srini have something in common, the Motorola part.
oh yes, the
Uh,
Motorola part and the cars and the motorcycles part. So both of
yeah, I would say from the for the company point of view, because I think the China
yeah,
operations of Motorola was handled by Srini. Were you all
what's handled by.
working around the same time?
No, actually we didn't cross this one when we were in Motorola.
Okay,
We
so
didn't
the
cross paths.
Motorola connection is there, and of
Oh,
course,
definitely, yes.
okay, and racing cars and all. Okay, you all share that in common, huh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's a car enthusiast who's recently moved to becoming a biker. He drives a Harley Davidson now. Okay, he rides a Harley Davidson.
everything that possible with midlife crisis, I think. I have, I'm also training for a marathon right now. So
Nice.
so everything to do with midlife crisis, I'm checking the boxes.
Join the gang. That's all I can say. Because we're all bikers.
Midlife fun. Midlife fun. Yeah. Yeah. Leslie is a
Absolutely.
biker as well,
Yeah,
Srini.
we're all bikers. So it's good fun. And of course, long distance, I love my drives, cherish them. But of course, we won't bore our viewers and listeners with bike rides and the car. We'll keep that for another. I think to coincide with one of these, F1s or something like that. But for
Yes.
now, of course, Shrini, I mean, I don't remember us having anybody who deals with the digital marketing part of it on this podcast.
And
Right? Shrini?
yeah, and also yes, we've never had a guest who leads with digital marketing. And Srini is also our first guest from Southeast Asia. He's based in Kuala Lumpur. ADA is headquartered out of KL, and
Okay.
Srini is also based out of Kuala Lumpur. Yeah.
So, Shrini, many firsts to your credit.
Thank you for having me.
And Srini, this is the first year anniversary of our podcast as well. Our first episode was recorded on 2nd August last year in 2023.
Wow, time flies. But I definitely heard your first one, and since then, I remember sending it to my leadership team, and I was just telling them, "Hey, I'm going to be talking to you guys today," and they were like, "Yeah, we've been following since the day you kind of introduced. So you have a lot of big fan following, definitely in Southeast Asia.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you for
you.
the captive audiences. Yeah. So, Srini, I think why don't you just give us a brief of how AI and generative AI is being how they are being used in digital marketing, especially because I think these are one of the kind of primary application areas of AI and Gen AI. So you could just tell us how you.
And I must add that these were one of the first use cases, right? Where, I mean, most people would not know, but massively the way Meta ad spending and then optimization has happened is, of course, bridging a lot of AI and, of course, underneath a lot of data sets about us as consumers. So I think, of course, I mean, a lot of focus and usage of AI in what I would call funnel management. How do you basically look at the full funnel of marketing all the way into commerce? Of course, as part of that, automated spending in terms of which channel, what time of the day, what context, what type of audiences. All of this is predominantly done by machines rather than humans for almost 6-7 years now. So of course, AI was one of the first adopters. And of course, that's massively moved into content. A lot of focus on content automation, showing a very different personalized ad to Leslie, you based on your preferences to versus Jayanth. Of course, this wasn't humanly possible before because a lot of content adaptation was done by humans, of course, using tools like Adobe, but now it's massively getting automated. And then, of course, with Gen AI, um, uh, a lot of usage beyond content automation, but actually personalized assistance in shopping, personalized assistance in customer service. I loved what Meta just launched their AI studio, where they are creating a personalized AI assistant for anyone on the planet, right? And clearly you can see that they are mixing a lot of avatars and their investment in metaverse with AI and really bringing and making it more fun, actually, to be honest.
Srini, before I know Jayanth is itching to ask you a lot of questions, but before that, I just wanted you to give, to clarify to our viewers and listeners the difference between how you use digital marketing or how you used AI, the traditional AI or the old AI, as we call them or call it now, in digital marketing versus the new kind of the generative AI models. For instance, as an example, I would like you to give a lot of specific examples because that will help our viewers and listeners to understand this field. Like we used to have rule-based chatbots. They moved to say intent-based chatbots. Then they moved to LLM-based chatbots. So something like that. How digital marketing has been exploiting and leveraging this because the context to this question is that of late there's been a lot of deliberation and angst over whether generative AI is generating enough ROI in the field. So I write from all the experts. I don't want to name any one expert or single out any one expert on this podcast. I've written reams on it, but for now, this kind of a clarification of how you are using it would be very interesting for us.
Yeah, maybe I think we need to break down the full funnel, right? If you break down the funnel between marketing, commerce, and of course, customer service or assisted selling. Within media and marketing, the usage of AI right from prescription and automated media placements has been there for a very long time. And of course, it was within walled gardens of Meta, within walled gardens of Google, but then also cross-channel, cross-media placements. Within e-commerce, I would say what you call, I think, a lot of traditional AI, a lot of, I would say, more BI, more business insights, which is now getting much more into, I would say, a bit more predictive and more prescriptive. And then on the back end of prescriptive, more, I think, what we call hyper automation, right? Like, for example, very simplistically, if you were trying to figure out pricing, what pricing should you be setting on a 11/11 campaign day? A lot of dynamic pricing. It is still right now a lot of prediction in terms of how the revenue might perform if you use a certain price and on a certain promotion. But how do you integrate that much into the automation funnel so that it's completely automated and there's no human intervention required? Now, with the Gen AI, it's much, I would say it's utilized in two main domains. one in the marketing, which is the creative side. So utilizing Gen AI for all sorts of ad copy creations. Of course, you can have the same product, but a very different environment, a different person holding it, very different personas, etc. So, of course, that's been utilized a lot and will continue to. And of course, now it's getting beyond graphics into video creation, right? And the other big area of Gen AI is conversational AI. And this is where you have personal sales assistants. It's enable better content recommendation as part of the sales process. It's integrating a lot of Gen AI capability, like you mentioned, LLM, into WhatsApp channels. So whereby you are almost having a human-like interaction on WhatsApp. I think the key difference, and you can see this sometimes, if it's a rule-based engine, you can see the interaction is a bit clunky. You can feel that you're talking to a robot. Very quickly, you'll have to bring a real human agent in because it will run out of options for you, and it's not a great experience. I think we all want a human-like experience, but we don't want to talk to a human. And that's perfect with Gen AI.
But is cost a factor? Because see, because when I talk to industry people, they always tell me that a lot of hesitation comes because of the cost factor. Because sometimes in certain cases, the difference in cost between say a plain kind of traditional AI based solution versus the Gen AI based solution, especially in the application areas that you have just spoken about, is even sometimes it turns out to be a kind of a 5x to a 10x kind of difference. Could you help us out with these kind of?
I think it's not so much cost, because on a per unit basis, marginal cost is not. Of course, the cost of investment is high. I think it goes back to the state of the economy, right? And what is the digital penetration? Well, how much percentage of revenue is coming from digital channels? If, like, for example, Southeast Asia right now, on average, across categories, 20% of revenue comes from digital channels. So e-commerce penetration is about 20%. Give and take, maybe India is I think much smaller today. My guess is below 10%, but of course the growth rate is massive. So it will catch up pretty soon. So once you have substantial portion of your revenue coming from digital channels, then these digital investments immediately create ROI. But if you only have 6% of your category penetrations, for example, if you're into insurance selling, less than 5% of your category penetration is via e-commerce, your digital investment as a percentage of total sales will be massive. And hence, that's when the ROI question comes into.
Right. So, Srini, ADA operates globally and in multiple regions, and you have clients all over the world. One of the trend that we've been observing is off late, a lot of AI and Gen AI development and pilots, are now moving away from innovation and R&D budgets into software upgrade budgets, right? And I personally believe that's actually a wrong move, because we're still in the early nascent stage of AI evolution, right? And the second thing, what Leslie talked about, enterprises are now putting KPI metrics, which is leading to an ROI discussion, again, which I think, in the enterprises. Now, my first question, I have two parts to the question. First question is this a trend that you also observe in the clients that you work across around the world? And the second question is, what are the subtle differences in terms of thinking, in terms of AI innovation and adoption of companies, enterprises especially, around the world in different parts of the world? The Western world or Western Europe and North America versus Middle East versus South Asia versus Southeast Asia and Eastern Asia. Is there any difference in the thinking and adoption?
I would say maybe I'll answer the second part first. I think fundamental drivers of the thinking difference is what is the state of your underlying foundational platform readiness, your data readiness.
Right.
Maybe if you take a step back, what's happened is the first wave was data analytics.
Right.
Everybody invested a quadrant in data analytics. Very quickly realized that even data analytics was very siloed. You had financial analytics serving the CFO, you had marketing analytics serving the CMO, you had commerce analytics serving the chief commercial officer, etc. It was very, very siloed, and there were different analytics teams. There was no centralized.
Yes.
You couldn't run very intelligent AI systems on top because data was fairly decentralized and fairly rudimentary, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the next wave very quickly has been creating this data continuum inside organizations.
Right.
More investment cloud platforms. That's why you see a massive uptick of Snowflake and Databricks and all of these platforms really coming into force because there's been a kind of, I would say, an architectural shift across.
Right.
So a lot of, I would say right now, focus for most companies is, like you said, building the software upgrades, but actually what they're upgrading is their underlying data platforms,
Right.
investing quite a lot.
Yes.
For many of them, this is CapEx
Mm.
because they
Mm.
believe that this will create future ROI. They are not saying, okay, with my investment in a particular data lake or a lake house, do I get immediate revenue upside or cost reduction? The only, I would say, one measure certain companies, and I've seen in India as well, certain companies look at this is when they get a new data lake, they're looking at actually, can I reduce my total cloud cost? Which
Right.
is quite
Okay.
interesting. So they're upgrading, but actually reducing their total cloud cost
The
because they
TCO
are able
essentially.
to,
Yeah.
yeah,
Or,
they're able to actually have what you would call zero copy data, right? So I'm
yeah.
not copying data across multiple apps. I have one single place. I'm overall reducing my storage,
Yes.
my one single place for better data governance, one single place for better compute management, all of that stuff.
Right.
The AI experimentation is going on. I'm not sure they are moving into production yet.
Yeah.
It is still, I
Yeah.
would say, pilot phase.
Yeah.
Is there an immediate ROI request? No. I think, will there be an ROI demand within the next 12 months? I think so.
Okay.
Are we too fast? Question mark. Will it create ROI? Personally, I don't think so. I mean, will
Yeah.
the first wave of digital transformation create ROI? No, until massive. I think there needs to be a critical mass and
Yes.
there's critical scale to really prove ROI.
Right.
And that will come, I think.
I
How
think
do you
that,
measure that ROI?
Sorry.
How do you measure that ROI? What are the kind of metrics that you use? Because I was just trying to recollect what Andrew Ning said way back in 2019 that AI is the new electricity. But if it is the new electricity, you can't measure the ROI of electricity. It's everywhere. I mean, AI today is in your smartphones, AI is in your recommendation engines, in your search engine, and driverless cars, in whatever you're using. Measure the.
Yeah. So do you have to measure? You have to, because you've got to go and convince your CFO who gave you the funding for it.
right.
Is
Exactly.
it really
Exactly.
effective? And I mean, end of the day, there will be measurements in terms of, did I cross-sell more? Did I upsell more? Was it done in a very research methodology? No, but does it give an executive the power to say, yes, I created that upsell because I used AI?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I mean, you have to measure. There's no way out of it.
No, I have no problem with that. You have to measure. We understand the compulsions of organizations to, measure everything under the sun. But my point is really, is it possible? Of course, that was a different.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jayant, you were.
No. Okay. Can you help us understand? You're our first guest from the Southeast Asia region. The dynamics of AI and Gen AI in that region, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Indonesia, Australia. Specific to that region. What's happening from the innovation part, adoption part, market understanding, learning, education part. Uh, help us understand what is the latest and greatest happening there.
Yeah, and I think not too dissimilar, I would say, to
Mm-hmm.
probably what's going on in India. I think the key challenge in Southeast Asia is, I mean, overall, Southeast Asia as a market is similar to India. But the
Okay.
key difference is it's heavily fragmented to very different languages. I mean,
Right.
one can do the same in India, but I think the fundamental government structures, regulations, cross-border, all of that is fundamentally very different, which you don't have the challenges in India, right?
Right.
So that creates, I would say, a little bit of different maturity,
Mm-hmm.
also to do with the digital infrastructure, digital adoption, etc. I mean, the way Malaysia, Singapore will be quite different to the way Indonesia is quite different to Cambodia. It's a function of, I would say, digital maturity,
Right.
and also enterprise value pools naturally, because of the fragmentation,
Mm.
are smaller. If
Okay.
you were an
Okay.
enterprise, say, and if you were operating in US or India or China,
Mm-hmm.
you have immediate access to the full country in a bit more homogeneous way
Yeah.
from your
Relatively
product
speaking.
offerings. Maybe sales and marketing is fairly decentralized, but at
Correct.
least centralization. In Southeast Asia, your enterprise value pool is limited to the country you're in. And it is, if you're creating regional, you're really creating a multi-local business. So hence your ability to invest in technology and AI is not as high. So
Understood.
I find that
Understood.
in India, the investment in digital and technology for an enterprise is much higher comparatively because you have more firepower to invest in.
Understood. So what you're saying is, even though India and China are, uh, fairly culturally fragmented, when it comes to enterprise value pools, sales and marketing are fragmented in these countries, but the product and the technology can be homogeneous. Whereas in Southeast Asia, even that gets fragmented, and hence the enterprise value pool gets fragmented. That's a very interesting.
And so who allocates the spends basically? Is it the CMO? Is it the CIO? Is it the CTO? Because there are so many functions out here now.
The main data, I mean, if you have to break it up, right? The main data foundation layer is definitely the CIO stroke CTO. Whoever owns the so-called the keys to the data sets. And that's typically a CapEx investment. The AI layer is embedded deeply into the app layer and or tools. Today, I think a lot more AI adoption, I think, Leslie, to your point earlier, will happen through apps or enterprise tools that you use and will be embedded inside it. So if you are using an HRIS system, a lot of AI tools for enterprises are embedded into it. Will HR create completely new AI tools? I don't think so.
Right.
I mean, and it is not their forte too. Within marketing space, there will be people like us who provide lots of new AI tools that sit on top of multiple platforms because no single platform, you will trust no single platform because each platform will be biased around their walled garden.
Right.
Within commerce, again, there will be tools for your e-commerce stack. So the AI is coming through different software applications that you will be deploying on top. In the meantime, I would say the data analytics teams and the data science guys are, of course, creating models and implementing, but fundamentally, they'll come from the big platforms.
Right.
And in your case, I think most of the spends would be coming from the CMOs, I think so.
Absolutely. Like, I'll give you one example. We are quite a big player within something called customer data platforms, CDPs. There, when we go and actually sell this into enterprises, you've got to be able to convince the IT, the CIO, the chief privacy officer, and the CMO. And it's always a joint investment. Hence becomes typically a 6 to 12-month sale process because there are a lot of different folks you have to convince. And consequently, I would say the role of the CMO and CIO are also changing increasingly. I mean, we had a belief system 5-6 years ago that the CIO might report to the CMO or the CMO might report to the CIO. I don't think we're there yet, but I still think one of those things will happen.
And of course, Jayanth is batting for that. What is that? We were talking about the chief
AI
AI
success.
officer.
I
So
talk about AI
yeah,
success
yeah,
office.
he's
AI
batting for the
success
chief
office.
success officer.
AI success
Yeah.
office.
I have a contrarian point on that. Back in the day, I remember seeing this analysis. I don't know how grounded is the research. A lot of companies had the chief digital officer.
Yes.
It was quite interesting to see that the companies that had chief digital officer were the least digitally transformative companies. That was because everybody in the company looked at this one person who was the chief digital officer and say, hey, digital is not my job, it's that person.
Exactly.
But the companies that didn't were the ones that decentralized
Yeah.
and everybody would be
And
doing it. AI is a thing.
and hence this one of AI success office, which is essentially in a nutshell a multifunctional special task force that reports
I don't know.
directly
I've
into
had my
CEO's office.
disagreements with Jayanth on
CEO's
this
office.
because I feel we are just unnecessarily adding layers on layers and making it
Yeah.
bureaucratic. I think we
Yeah.
should, shed the layers rather than keep on adding more layers. Because as it is, we can't even agree on what is digital. We can't even agree on what. I mean, it is strange. But anyway, I mean,
Srini, one question probably, and you're one of the few guys, at least on our podcast, who can answer this. Um, AI, the stage at which where we are at with AI evolution, it's a once in a lifetime or a once in a generation technology, right? And we are in the early stages. And at the in the early stages of any technology evolution and adoption, we see companies, crisscrossing their roles. I mean, we see product companies trying to become platform companies, developing platforms, services companies trying to, develop products. I mean, we have an Indian company, Fractal, which is a very good example, which incubates a bunch of products and which also sort of plays a role of an incubator slash VC, while its bread and butter is that of services, right? Now, as ADA, you guys are primarily services companies, and at the onset of AI and this technology evolution, there are opportunities abound, right? Lots of opportunities. How do you see around the world, and specifically in case of ADA, how do you see this evolution of companies crisscrossing their core competencies and going there, successes and challenges?
Yeah, I love the question. Uh, 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 so, I mean, I'll give you my belief system.
Yes.
Having tried to do products also inside services companies,
Right.
and not to a great degree of success, because ADA is not known for products.
Right.
And maybe that in itself says something.
Maybe it's got to do with the customer perception as well. Running a consulting firm, I also see that. I mean,
No,
once a client sees you as
Yeah.
a service provider, it's very tough for them to accept products and platforms from you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it
what
goes back
happened
to
with the
what is the
Indian IT
difference
services
between
firms.
Yeah, what is the difference between a service and a product? To me, the fundamental difference is the production process.
Right.
In a service, the production of the service is always co-jointed together with the customer.
Yes.
That is why no single service is always alike. It's always different because it is heavily dependent on the customer.
True.
Now, product is done independent of the customer. Even if the customer might have given you requirements, it's produced independent of the customer, and hence you can have a very similar product offerings across geographies, etc. And that's the difference, right? Now, clients, and I remember I mean, we all love to go to the same hairdresser, the same barber. That's because there is an existing arrangement of the service creation that is between two people, and you know the quality of the service you're going to get. That's why you don't keep changing your hairdresser all the time. It's not because we're all loyal. It's because we want consistency. And that's because that equation has been set between the service provider and the client.
Right.
That's why we call them clients as opposed to customers. Now, if you apply the same, service organizations are just very, very adapted to production process in the client environments. Independently, they struggle. And of course, you can also argue go to market, etc. All that can be fixed, but I mean, it's hard to change a company's DNA once it's been created, and that's why there's a lot of struggle. So we've launched something called copilots, and we're very careful that these are not SaaS offerings. These are actually copilots to the service provider, and most likely we are the service provider as well. But in case ever the client says, I want a build, operate, transfer, build something and operate and transfer to me, then at least the copilots can go along with it. So yeah, that's at least my 2 cents on it.
So Srini, I think, of course, we will be getting you on another podcast also. I mean, subject to your availability, I've taken the liberty of, extending you an invitation in a kind of a veiled fashion.
On live,
Absolutely.
live recording.
So Srini could not back
No,
out.
no better way to put anybody on the spot. Right?
Yeah, no. But before we end this podcast, I would like you to touch upon the kind of limitations of the Gen AI products and services that you're offering, because in your area especially, you're dealing with a lot of copyright violations, plagiarism, say trademark, IP infringement, etc. They're sensitive areas, and all companies, most of the pilots that may not see production, as we have been discussing during these podcasts for quite some time, would probably fail because of these limitations, whether it's hallucinations, whether it is or the other kind of issues. So probably some of the limitations and how a company like yours is working with your clients to work around these issues.
Yeah, maybe I won't touch too much on the copyright stuff, etc. I think there's a lot of material, and of course, many of the software platforms who are also providing these capabilities are actually standing behind in case there are any lawsuits.
Yeah, they have licensed the
Yeah.
stuff.
So I won't touch too much on that. I think maybe one limitation that I'll talk about is more. I don't think AI has yet evolved to consumer expectations. And one simple example is video.
Yeah.
I mean, people want to see much more videos, and companies have to produce videos at the cost of still image.
Right.
Now, they cannot produce videos at the cost of still image until the ability for Gen AI to get to videos. And I don't think we are there yet. I mean, we're quite far away. So,
So you're not impressed with Sora, with Vio and all this?
yeah, I mean, I don't think they can, right? So it goes back to how quickly can AI move along with consumer preferences? Already, you can see in certain aspects, the minute you get into research, some more deeper questions, the amount of research that you can do with Gen AI is fairly not deep enough. So and it's the same, goes back to your comment about when you use conversational AI, chatbots, and hence if it hallucinates, and I think that there are lots of I think we've read a lot of cases about that it's just offering free promotions, free airline tickets, and all sorts of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that's why companies are quite careful about it, because it is not deep enough to fully understand full context around those. And hence, I don't think it's fully evolved to all the consumer preferences yet.
And that also probably explains why you have 1,500 people in the company, which is an AI company, because you have lots of humans in the loop.
Okay. Now, before you head out, one last question. Your view on AI agents?
My favorite is perplexity.ai.
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
I think it's great for a lot of research, doesn't hallucinate. I must say its interpretation sometimes is wrong, but the beauty is you're able to click back to the reference and check whether on that particular point was its interpretation correct. Sometimes it actually gives you the opposite insight of what the article meant. But you're able to trace back and gives you transparency in the process. So that's something I've started to use tremendously, at least for work.
Cool.
Of course, I mean, before we end, a kind of a different kind of question. Have you done any work for the Paris Olympics 2024?
No, we haven't. No.
Okay. Jayanth, I'm sure you're following all the badminton. Lakshya is playing extremely well.
Yeah. I mean, he beat the Indonesian Jonathan Christie. We were just watching before this recording, and Siona's made a full list of all the gymnastics, diving, and swimming, apart from badminton matches that she wants to watch.
And even our doubles pair is doing extremely well.
Yeah.
But I was maybe just one. I'll tell you one of my daughter's use case. She's 9 years old.
Cool.
We were in Paris 3 weeks ago. We don't speak French. When he was in French, she literally did take ChatGPT and take a snapshot and recommend something from here. Now, the funny thing is, I mean, it did recommend, and she chose whatever was recommended. Because if you're neutral or you're not biased about what you want to eat, it gives you a decent explanation. Whether the explanation is right or wrong, you believe in it and you start ordering.
Go for it.
And I tried in another couple of places. Interestingly, it always gave you recommendations which were kind of hearty, wholesome meals. As opposed to picking the salads or the light ones, etc. So
interesting.
It's clearly somewhere.
So, viewers and listeners, I mean, this was Srini for you, who gave us a very good insight on, how AI and Gen AI is being used in digital marketing, digital agencies, as I said. And it's a very different perspective. And you also got a South Asia perspective.
Southeast Asia.
Southeast Asia perspective. And I'm sure, as I said, since Srini hasn't protested, he's going to come back on this podcast, so you'll have more of him. So for now, thank you, Srini, for being with us. And Jayanth, you have a lovely weekend.
Thanks, Leslie. See you soon.
Ciao. See you soon. Bye.
Yeah.